It was no one wants comedy there.
Yeah.
There was a point I was doing a show there. It was like me and Sashir, Janelle, Shane Torres, Reggie Watts,
Great lineup.
Adam Devine. I can't, a few other comedians in. But during a show on stage, I said something. I was like, "Do you guys hear T-Pain?" And someone goes, "Oh shit, I forgot T-Pain." And then a bunch of people left.
Oh man.
Which he's great, but you can't remind people there's a better option. But Eminem was on the lineup, and I didn't go because I was on mushrooms. Oh, Shang Wang was there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if Eminem is a on mushrooms guy.
Maybe.
He played a lot of gunshot sound effects at a big public place. And no,
you can't do that on shrooms?
No, you can't do that in a crowd.
Yeah, I guess not.
I had this like realization with Eminem where it was so funny because he's like a big thing, especially growing up in the Midwest, and everyone loved him so much. But you're just like, oh, I hope he plays all the old hateful ones.
Yeah.
Like
you don't like new Eminem?
You're like, I hope he plays those fun ones about his wife in a trunk. I don't know what he's doing now.
Have you heard his new song, Houdini?
I did just hear it. Because of the Drake-Kendrick situation, my entire algorithm is guys reacting to new rap songs.
Okay.
So it's like guys I've never heard of going, or they'll listen to 1 second and then pause it and walk away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I don't know if that means you like it or dislike it.
I was watching one where one guy punched the other guy until his gamer chair fell, and I was just like, is this what you guys do? Is this like a unique reaction?
I should have got. It's like real life retweeting.
Yeah,
it's just these reaction videos. But man, I loved it. Yeah, I listened to the song eventually.
This is the Inconsistent Podcast with Rob Haze. We got Kyle Ayers here.
We're trying to get a copyright infringement flag immediately. Like,
well, look what the stork brung. Little baby
Look what the stork brung.
I mean,
Kyle Ayers in the building.
You got to have brung be your fifth word. You're the lyricist, unparalleled auteur, poet, brung.
Wait, is brung not
might be
real?
a word. I think anything's a word for him if it rhymes with a bunch of other stuff almost.
Oh, I guess brat. Why would you need brat if you got brung?
I don't know. Brat has so many more rhymes too.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I think I don't know what the next line is. I assume hung. Oh, thumb doesn't even rhyme with brung. I'm like, I'm whatever about Eminem now.
Yeah.
Have fun, shave the beard, please. And that's coming from me. I'm trying to frame my face as a lie. But it just feels like you can't have that beard and still be angsty.
I want to know what Eminem does on a random day. Outside of rapping, what does Eminem do?
Like some Thursday afternoon?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, I know what Rick Ross does.
Yeah.
Like, Rick Ross has his animals, and he's got his cars, and
Yeah.
he's got his, Wingstop business meetings and stuff. But, like, what does Eminem do?
He probably spends time in local Detroit businesses hyping people up to buy thick pizza.
Okay.
He's really into, I know he talks about not wanting to be in movies unless they're shot in Detroit or partially in Detroit. That's his big thing, is trying to bring business to Detroit. I think
he's bummed out that, like, RoboCop was never shot in Detroit?
Probably. He's like, holds that grudge against Hollywood to this day. So much rhymes with Robo and Cop.
It's, first they were, where were they first? I know they eventually shot in Atlanta.
For RoboCop?
Yeah.
Probably a soundstage in Burbank.
Yeah.
That used to be the place for everything. I used to think Burbank would be the greatest place in the world because you would watch like The Price is Right and they'd be like, we're shot in Burbank. And I'm like, it's got to be Magic there. And then it turns out it's just stores that sell Magic the Gathering cards.
The Price is Right is in Burbank?
Yeah.
Where?
I don't know. I assume at like one of like BJ's Grill. Burbank is just the strip mall of LA. I mean, does that make, or like the mall of, but yeah, I think they shoot out there. Maybe it's Glendale, But I remember a lot of
What?
places being like Glendale, California. Remember when we did that Choose Your Own Adventure talk show? I made it all the Glendale stuff based on those talk shows like Kimmel and everything that said that.
That.
Yeah.
We did a Choose Your Own Adventure talk show, which means instead of shooting for an hour like most talk shows,
Yeah.
we shot all
Savage.
day and all night, every possible combination.
Yeah, it's called Talk Amuck on
Talk
Echo.
Amuck.
Talk Amuck on Echo sounds like an Eminem song.
I forgot about that. Pre-pandemic, it was like, this
Yeah.
might go.
Yeah.
This might get Quibi out of here.
Turns out no one wanted short bites or choose your own bites.
Yeah.
It was fun though, and
It
then
was
Kerry
so much
Rhodes was
fun.
there, that old
Kerry
NFL
Rhodes
player
was there.
that hit me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Contract free, hit by a former NFL safety,
Right.
and then after that they were like, we'll just make all the choices end up here instead of having Kerry Rhodes hit Kyle. But that was so fun. It was like, what joke do you like that joke? How do you want Rob to react to that joke?
Yeah.
You pick and choose all these different things, and then it's about 10 minutes long, which I think was like 6 hours of shots.
Yeah. No, it took a long time, but it was cool. I just wish we could have got people to see it.
My original pitch was to have a lion in the room,
Like someone who doesn't tell the truth.
I wanted just a big lion or a baby lion roaming around, but you couldn't find the option to see it. So it was never involved in I just want people to be like, how do I get to the lion? So they rewatch it a bunch, and you can't. And that was immediately, they were like, we have $9 to give you. Like, we don't have lion money, even in LA where they're cheap.
That was a fun shoot. That was
Yeah.
a fun day. Yeah. And then my whole family being from Louisville, I was able to nerd out on Kerry Rhodes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's.
Hell yeah,
I
we
still
in the
follow him.
Liberty
He's
Bowl.
doing music and stuff. But he played for the Cardinals. I think is how we got in, because Dane, who was one of the producers, a big Cardinals fan, and had some in
See?
there.
Cardinal to Cardinal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like the Vatican.
Just like the Vatican.
Sweeping it under the rug. That'll.
Wait, no.
No.
I just
What's
said,
up?
Wait, what?
No, we weren't like that.
Kyle Ayers is
Yeah,
here.
we're here.
Kyle Ayers. I've been a fan of for a long time. We're in the same Montreal class.
Mhm.
Kyle had some of the most insane shows. The Boast Rattle, like Roast Battle, but the opposite.
Just a compliment contest.
Yes.
Competitive compliments.
Competitive compliments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It's tough to write
It's very hard to
because it's
write.
easy to low common denominator roast. But the beauty, I always thought of Boast Rattle, which someday might show back up again in some. But I thought the best part of it was watching comedians receive praise because they're so uncomfortable.
That's hard. That's hard. Also, coming up with comments that the audience will buy, like the audience of strangers
Yeah.
will buy, and then it's like, dang, like sometimes you'll have like a wide range of premises, but
Mhm.
only certain premises are hitting because the audience is like, well, I could see that.
Yeah, because the thing about roasts, which I like the large scale roast things. I think they're pretty fun because everyone knows a little bit about Tom Brady, or whatever.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the head to head ones, you got to just be like, look at this ugly fat guy or whatever. You know what I mean? Because you have to get the audience to be like, well, we don't know that guy doesn't pay his Spectrum bill on time or
Right,
whatever.
Right.
We got to do the thing we can see, and that's tough with compliments. It's tough to look at someone and see what everyone would think is good about them,
Yeah.
especially comedians where you have to dig deep to find the good.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
You also had First Comes Love, where you put out a Craigslist ad
Yeah.
saying that you were a big-time porn director and you
Yes.
needed scripts.
I was looking for sample scripts for porn lead-in scene writers.
You were asking for 5 pages. Some people sent you
Some
like
people really got
full length.
Some people will send them so fast that they had to have already had them. Like, you put the ad up, and 2 minutes later, you have 9 pages called "Gay Muff Throws" in your inbox. You're like, you had this.
And so then Kyle would take these scripts, have comedians act them out, of course, without the sex, and or creative ways to sex. There were dolls and
blow up things. Not even
yeah.
like people, like pool dolphins
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
But and they would be organized thematically. There were so many that it'd be like, all right, this is gangster movie night.
Yeah,
This
This is fantasy night. This is
Yeah.
we had an election-based one.
It's May the 4th. We're doing a Star Wars edition of
So
First
many.
Comes Love.
So I got so many unprompted election-based ones. We did it before the 2016 election, just like
Yeah.
2 nights before. That was the most optimistic night in American history. We all were having a good time. That was we did it off Broadway
Yeah.
as a show there. It was just so much fun. That was a really good time. Shot a pilot of that for MTV2. I don't think a
on.
network has ever passed on anything during the export. But MTV2
During
was like,
the
we're gonna.
export?
MTV2 was like, we're gonna fold as a network because of this. Not only are we passing on this, MTV is passing on us being a network anymore.
That is hilarious. What happened to MTV2?
I don't know. I mean, I think once it was where they let people pick the next music videos. The MTV2, I remember.
I remember
Control
that.
Freak, I think maybe was what it was called, where they would give you a few
Control
options while you were watching the
Okay.
other one.
We
I was
didn't
always-
have that
yeah.
advanced cable. We
Oh,
only had
you had
one
to call in.
We only had one MTV, but my
Mm.
grandmother, she had satellite and she had MTV. So when we go to
Yeah.
MTV2, so when we go to Alabama, it's like now we can see all the making the videos.
Yeah. I remember trying to vote for Tenacious D music videos. They would show
Okay.
you the percentage, and I'd be like, how's only 2% of people want to watch Tenacious D? Can we
Jack
get
Black
the Wonder Boy
and
video
the
up
other
there?
guy
Kyle
voted?
Gass. Yeah, just me, the two Kyles, and Jack Black voting for it on their Teletone punch-in things. I think we had a rotary phone. I'm trying to take so long to vote on those.
I remember one time we watched making the video, Deepest Bluest, LL Cool J's song for Deep Blue
Yeah,
Sea.
yeah.
And then when it was time for the world premiere of the video, my grandmother changed the channel to the news. And we were like, we watched them make this thing so
Yeah.
that we could see the thing.
It's like hating the
And
third
she
act
was
of
like, yeah.
Top Chef.
Well, they lied. They said it was going to end at 6, and it didn't. And the news is on now.
It's like 6:04 or
Yeah.
something.
And I was pissed. I did not know YouTube was coming. I was
Yeah.
so upset.
Well, because you're like, when's the next chance I can see this? 3 a.m.
Right.
when they show the whole video again?
No one's going to vote on...
No. The news is just all about how good of an episode of making the video that was.
Oh, man. We're surprised you guys are tuning in right now. Making the videos.
They're watching it on their monitor over to the left. Like, we'll be with you shortly. Like they're watching the OJ chase. Oh, geez. I do remember. First off, I like Deepest Bluest. It's
I
so
don't know if
funny that
that's
to
the
like
name.
no,
I
that
don't-
if you write something for a soundtrack, it has to be an accentuated version of the name of the movie. Did you see Goodfella-ist? The NWA song for the Goodfellas soundtrack? Goodest Fellas?
I think that's the name of it. I hope I'm...
It
I
might
hope
not
I'm-
even show up in your search. I think Bing is going to be like, we don't actually know what you're talking
Well,
about.
we don't look anything up.
I'm
on
trying to
this
promote Bing.
podcast. I'm just trying to see if it's in the Serato.
Oh, if they have open rights to that song?
Yeah.
That you know how many palms you got to grease to get Deep Blue Sea LL Cool J soundtrack? That's a lot of CCs on one email.
Right.
That's his email about it was called Deep Blue CCs. That's what the BCC is for. That's for no one.
Yeah, I can't find
Rob
it.
just threw his computer away.
Kyle.
Yeah, First Comes Love was fun. That feels like a different time.
Right.
Like a different.
Yeah.
I don't know the last
We
time
were
I did
living
it.
in New
Festivals every
York.
once in a while, yeah.
That was one of the few shows that I like going to just to watch.
Yeah.
I like watching it way more. I don't think I ever did a First Comes Love, and I'm glad.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's not always the footage you want out there.
Right. But I did love the show.
Yeah.
I remember the first one I went to, someone was like, dude, you got to go to First Comes Love. People get weird after they see that. And so I'm thinking it's going to be like people get nasty, going
yeah.
crazy at the end. And then people just got on the L train and went home. And I was like,
but in a weird way. They swiped their card weird.
but it was so good. It was so good.
was
The first
really
one I
fun.
went to was at the Knitting Factory.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I
I went
always
to
had
one in
the best
Manhattan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was fun to do. It feels weird and different. Like, the older I got, the harder I found it to book 26 comedians.
Right, you got to book
And
every
then you want
part.
to cast people who know each other. You're not looking to have strangers.
Yeah.
And so it's similar to casting like Boast Rattle, where you're like, okay, I like you. Who do you like?
Right.
Here's the script. It's a little weird. Who are you comfortable doing this with? And then who was in various places about all that sort of stuff. It was very ridiculous, and it just felt unloaded, if that makes sense. We're like, and not in the sex way,
Yeah.
not in the Herbie fully loaded way, but just like this is nothing in a good way. This has no agenda. It's stupid. It's fun. It's goofy. There's 20 people on the show. There's 100 people in the knitting factory. Everyone is on the show. Like everyone who's there is a part of the show. I just like to set up the dominoes in the dumbest way possible and push them all over.
It was a blast. And then you have the great podcast Never Seen It.
Never seen it.
Where people who never seen a movie write 5 minutes of the movie that they've never seen.
Yeah. That I think is the culmination of those other shows. First Comes Love, but accessible. Boast Rattle, kind of a take on what everyone's into, but accessible. And it was a live show, and
Plus
then sort
your
of turned
dad.
into this. Plus my dad, still been the through line, and maybe my dad wasn't in the sex show. But yeah, my dad's a part of it. He watches movie trailers and describes them, and you have to guess what they are, but he doesn't know who any actors are.
Yeah.
He thinks he knows Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, but doesn't know that they're in Toy Story. Like, independent of those are like 2 of his 5. And Andy Griffith would probably be one of his other ones, and Ron Howard
Andy Griffith.
as an actor. Yeah.
What was Andy Griffith's?
Just
there
the
was
Andy
the Andy
Griffith
Griffith show, and then Matlock.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he's Matlock.
He probably doesn't
right?
even know Matlock. My dad sort of faded his cultural knowledge around
What's
then.
this late episode of Andy Griffith, man?
He's really
Put
a lot
your
more
uniform
involved.
on.
Where's Barney?
Have you ever watched the Andy Griffith like movies that they made after the Andy Griffith show?
No.
And it's like clearly like 15 years has passed.
But they try and be in. Is Ron Howard in them? As just 18-year-old?
No, Rod. I don't think Opie's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't. I've seen the Leave It to Beaver show movie, the new one, which I guess is like 30 at this point, but newer than the rest of Leave It to Beaver.
Oh, like the reboot.
Yeah.
From the 90s.
Mhm.
I do remember that. Yeah,
Someone gets stuck in a coffee mug on top of a cafe, and that's the plot.
Yeah. I don't remember. Yeah, I remember watching it. I don't remember loving it. I do remember being like, why are we not watching Good Burger right now?
I loved Good Burger so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I've probably seen the movie 5 or 6 times since 2010.
I don't know how they knew at that age I knew who Carmen Electra was. How did they know that?
Yeah, they really skated where the internet search history was going.
This guy
Yeah.
in my 3rd grade class had a Baywatch folder. He ran the
Okay.
class for a while.
Sure.
Because it was like, dude, that's a grown man right there. He got a
Yeah.
Baywatch folder.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. But yeah, we was like, yo, she's in a movie?
Yeah.
Man.
She from online.
Yeah.
How'd they get her in a movie?
She's from Maxim.
I
How'd she get in
tried
a
to
movie?
print a picture of her out in the middle school, I think, library.
Okay.
And then freaked out and never went and picked it up because it was too busy. But so it's just printed over to while everyone else is printing out papers. I just wanted to have that picture for whatever.
I had some Tyra Banks pictures on a floppy disk.
Mm-hmm.
And so, sometimes it's like, all right, I'm gonna put
At that point, the disc
the
isn't floppy. But
black disc in there.
yeah, I mean, that was, you had to find stuff on. Like Carmen Electra, I knew she was on E. She had a show on E. I remember that. I remember thinking in Good Burger that Mondo Burger was not a good name for the bad guy because I liked the word Mondo.
I like Mondo. Mondo had drinks.
They did. They were like off-brand Squeeze-Its.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I'm on their side. My
Right.
mom can't afford the Squeeze-It brands, so the ones without faces we can get, or personalities the Squeeze-Its had.
put a Mondo drink in a burger patty.
There you go. There you
that might
go.
be good.
Give me grape. give me fruit punch Mondo
Fruit
burger.
punch, Mondo burger, medium rare.
I used to always chew those lids
Yeah,
to the Mondo burger things. They were shaped a little bit like a Star
never
Wars
thought
show.
about that.
I would
just
chew
did
those.
that for years
Mhm.
and then put that away.
Yeah.
I used to chew the lid
Yeah.
of a Mondo drink.
That was the beginning of microplastics. was I think we were all chewing Mondo.
That's
'Cause
crazy.
Squeeze It, the cool kids had Squeeze Its in my school, and I had the Mondos, which were the bottle was so rigid.
Yeah.
You
No,
couldn't squeeze. It
there would
wasn't
be
like it was like this, but when
the
it's full.
seams would be busting at the top where you put your mouth on. Where it's like, oh, this is the part that I'd rather a little bit leak out
I
than
know.
like me get scratched.
It's
in the
like we
lip.
make Mondo burgers at the same factory that makes knives.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the similar mold, or not Mondo drinks, but I did like them. But
I
you
like
couldn't
that you
squeeze
combine
it.
them, that they're one. Yeah, yeah. You couldn't squeeze a Mondo drink.
It
I
was
guess
too
not.
hard.
Yeah, that's another thing. And then there's a little juice
Yeah.
in little crevices.
Mhm.
You know. Yeah, but Squeeze Its, that was it. I kept up with the Squeeze It
Yeah.
characters.
Oh yeah.
Lean green fighting machine had the
Yeah.
boxing gloves.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember any other.
No, but that was probably most of them. They'd be like
Yeah.
they were basically the dwarves from Snow White, I think, but applied to Squeeze It bottles.
Wait,
I don't know if they had a drink. I don't know if you can give a kid a drink called Sleepy, but I think that they were basically, it'd be like the happy guy, the crazy guy. I don't know if any of them sneezed. That's also a weird food attribute, but I think it was kind of that.
Oh
Or
man,
the
we
guy in
gotta make
boxing
a
gloves.
7 Snow White and the 7 Squeeze It
Squeeze White?
or Squeeze White.
Yeah, yours was better. mine was the old First Comes Love script, it sounds like. But yeah, I loved. I mean, the Squeeze It was so easy. Every once in a while, a kid would bring that to like baseball practice or something. As the
Oh yeah, cool team
that
mom.
you were
Now
allowed
you
to
got.
have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Remember when Capri Suns would they would shoot out, like they were
Yes.
filled to capacity.
I distinctly remember elementary school. Our lunch lady was one of the students' grandmothers, Josh Backus's grandma. I think
Okay.
I can say his name because I think he's in jail.
All right.
And shout out the Leavenworth Correctional Facility. I think he drove at one point he got drunk and drove a bulldozer through Bass Pro Shop construction site. That's
What
just
did
where
they-
I'm.
what
That's
did
actually
they-
what's on the flag of the city I'm from.
What did they do to him?
Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah, what happened prior
Maybe it's
at
an
Bass Pro?
anti-gentrification thing, or maybe he just wanted.
Okay.
Maybe it's meth.
Mm.
I don't want to make any assumptions. Anyways, his grandma resented Capri Suns. You'd be like, get Josh back as his grandma to try and open the Capri. So if you pretended you couldn't get it open, she'd be like, and come over and open. Then everyone would cheer when she got the Capri Sun open. And I don't know if she ever liked it or not.
So there was I remember there would be a thing when you were little, because whatever the little perforation where you were supposed to stab
Like
it
the aluminum hole.
was not it was made out of the hardest metal ever at the time.
Yeah, it's a
like,
diamond tipped.
And so you'd be trying to get it open, and then after a while, I remember my parents was like, you got to put the straw in your mouth while you doing it, because they didn't want us to spill it.
How do you do? I'm just picturing. Do you then jolt your head into the Capri Sun?
You don't want it to, you know what I'm saying, get
Yeah.
everywhere or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, why don't I just do it like this? And then they were like, oh yeah, I guess you could put your finger on the top.
Oh yeah, that does make sense. I mean, you're just now informing me about that as an option.
Well, it's way easier now. They got it down to a science now.
It did used to be made
Yeah.
out of like the same stuff that like Black Panther's suit is made out of.
Yeah, it was
Where you-
made out of vibranium.
Vibranium,
for
that's
sure.
what it's
Yeah,
called, like
yeah.
Captain America's shield.
Yeah.
But it was hard. I always never understood why it was so difficult and such a small. Maybe that was the novelty of it. They were like, you can stab this surfer, which a lot of Midwestern parents were excited to stab a hippie with a straw.
If you were in the 90s, you wanted to turn into liquid. It started
Yeah.
with T2.
Went to liquid cooler.
Then you got TLC, Under the Waterfall.
Yeah.
You got Alex Mack.
Mack, I remember.
And then you got then Capri Sun is like, oh, it's getting the regular people now. It's like, I don't even know who these people are. Like, you had to do something
You
spectacular.
had to be a Terminator or
you had to
burn
have your
down Andre
own
Rison's
show.
house. These are the ways you could become liquefied.
Right. Now you could just be a dude on a skateboard.
Yeah.
A dude with rollerblades.
The front of those always looked like the Magic Eye pictures. The front of the Capri Sun would be sort of the same thing where you're like, is that a palm tree with a smile?
Yeah.
I'll drink that flavor. That's my favorite flavor.
Right. My favorite flavor was wild cherry.
Mm-hmm.
I really love wild cherry Capri Suns.
Mm-hmm.
When like it was time to buy Capri Suns in bulk, if you had to get one flavor, that's what I was doing.
I like fake cherry stuff.
But I also like Surfer Cooler, and I don't
Surfer
know what that
Cooler.
is.
Surfer Cooler, yeah. I don't
What
know.
is a Surfer Cooler?
I think it might be like a proprietary flavor we don't even have around anymore. It's like from the. Remember, High C had Ecto Cooler for
Yeah.
Ghostbusters. Maybe the word cooler is the flavor. It's like
Yo.
the inside of a Yeti.
Ecto Cooler lasted way longer than whatever Ghostbusters cartoon they was promoting.
Yeah, I don't even. Ghostbusters came out in the 80s. I came out in the
Ghostbusters
late
2
80s.
came out in 89.
I know, I was 0.
I came out in 88.
Yeah.
Why the hell
Am
did I
ever
have Ecto
12
Cooler?
years old. This is
Bro,
like from a
Slimer
vault.
went solo. He was like, "Yo, I'm cutting these deals. You don't need Bill Murray on no high
Nah,
C.
he's hard to get a
You
hold
don't
of.
need Dan Aykroyd. You don't
Egon
need
Cooler.
Come on,
You don't want Egon juice?
come on, man. You don't need none of them cats.
No,
Just get Slimer.
It's right. That's right. I maybe would have had Marshmallow Puff Man High C if they had that
Okay.
as an option.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would taste like. It probably wouldn't fit through the straw, but I would have had it.
It's probably a lot of us that like still watch the new Ghostbusters because we're like, yo, you gotta watch Ghostbusters. We don't even know it's because
Yeah.
High C was
No one
keeping
wants
them
to,
going.
No, but I haven't seen any Ghostbusters.
You haven't seen any
Maybe
of the
some of the
new?
cartoons. None of
You
them.
haven't
I haven't
seen the
seen
one
Bill
and
Murray,
it's like-
0, 1, 2.
So Paul Rudd's not a Ghostbuster to you.
No.
Leslie
What?
Jones.
Wait,
not-
what? Paul Rudd is in a Ghostbusters?
Paul Rudd is
I
in
know-
as many Ghostbusters as
Bill Murray?
yeah. Well, I
Crazy.
guess Bill Murray's in the last new one. So I guess yeah. So that he could
Yeah.
keep the count.
I always said
above.
Ghostbusters needed a Marvel level of confusion. I was just worried I wouldn't have to watch YouTube videos to keep up with the ghosts.
I didn't even know they made a new Ghostbusters. I went into the wrong theory when I went to see House of Gucci, and I was like, this trailer is way too long. And then turns out I was in the new Ghostbusters.
Is the Stranger Things kid is in them, right?
Maybe.
The Stranger Things, one of the Stranger Things kids has like the hardest name I've ever heard in my like. Is it Finn Wolfhard?
Millie Bobby Brown?
Millie Bobby Brown. No, Finn Wolfhard is the. I cannot fathom someone under 38 having that
Okay.
name. It's absolutely wild.
They got to be a child star. I
It's-
don't want them in grade school with that name.
I'm sure you can't go to public school and be named Finn Wolfhard.
Finn Wolfhard,
Yeah.
yo, give them $1 million right now. Let them figure it out.
I think that's my Dungeons and Dragons character was named Finn Wolfhard.
They play D&D on Stranger
They
Things.
do. That really repopularized it.
Really?
I mean, I think it really blew up after that. I play sometimes. It's
Okay.
fun. I like I'm just about to actually run my first one. So
Okay.
not a joke leaving this recording and going to a gaming store
Yeah.
to get some little figurines for the people that are playing my campaign I'm writing. This is a
Nah,
hard transition to
riveting-
inaccessible.
Riveting
content.
stuff. No, no. You
I-
think I'm playing, but I am totally interested in
I
this.
think that it is a very fun thing for people who aren't into it to play. I think it's a really fun thing for everyone to take the same level of serious. Whether it's none, you're nodding. Do you play Dungeons and Dragons? Whether it's like golf. If everyone cares the same amount, is fun.
Yeah.
But if you go play golf with someone who cares way more, no one's gonna have a good time.
Got you.
And that's how I feel about stuff like this, where if it's like a creative endeavor, as long as everyone cares, pretty much most things, if everyone cares the same amount, you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah,
It doesn't
but
matter
if
who's
somebody
good at it.
cares too much,
Too much.
then it's gonna mean a lot.
Like if
to
you
them.
golf and someone is too serious, no
Yeah.
one's going to enjoy it. But if everyone's the same level of serious, go be psycho weirdos together.
the people behind you just got to be less serious than you.
Yeah.
If the people behind you like killing it,
Mm-hmm.
now you got a rough time because now you in the way.
Yeah. My mom used to be a bartender at a country club in the town I grew up in here.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would let all of the employees' kids golf for free Mondays after 5. They were basically like, we'll let the poors trot out at sunset.
Yeah.
Was the thing. So I used to golf a little bit when I was a kid, and it was pretty fun. But there would be people who were like, hurry, and you'd be like,
Right.
it's dark.
Yeah.
None of us are out here. Like, we're goofing around.
Yeah, they need more beginners courses where it's like, dude, take as long as you want.
The etiquette is intimidating.
Yeah. It really is. Are you familiar with this song?
Yeah.
The scenario?
I know it from searching Dungeons and Dragons and song titles and listening to stuff.
Do you wait? But I'm saying, do
Yeah.
you? Does anyone ever say? Like, does that ever happen in the game?
Probably. Yeah. Maybe not with the same intent of streams.
Got you. In your campaign, is there
Oh,
a
I'm
point
still
where
working on it.
somebody says,
There will be. I'll put it in there. Everyone will know it's coming because I'll pull my phone out and record it for you, but with the phone like on the table, like a hidden camera.
I want to play D&D with Busta Rhymes so bad?
Oh boy,
You know how ill that would be?
a lot will get done quickly.
Right. Why do
I
you
want
say
him
that?
to like voice the NPCs, like him to be the side characters and stuff. You know, because
Okay.
he's so good with vocal speeds and inflections. And
Yeah. Wait, NPCs. Wait, is this a computer?
No,
Dungeons
but
and
like whoever
Dragons?
runs the whole thing, the dungeon master, they I voice all of the other characters, the people you interact with in the world. So there's like 5 people playing who are all there, one person, and then I'm
Okay.
everybody else.
Okay.
Like if you could do like a D&D style campaign for really anything. If you pick like a video game you've played, like if you played like GTA 5,
Yeah.
someone would be Michael, someone would be Franklin, someone would be Trevor, and then I would be the rest of the people.
I don't know anyone's name in GTA.
I don't know why they all popped into my head, because if you asked me,
That's
I couldn't name them.
crazy.
Well, I remember my middle name's Franklin, so I remember that.
I'm me in GTA. I'm not somebody else.
I don't. My middle name being Franklin, I remember his. My brother's name is Trevor, and so I remember that guy, and I'm pretty sure Michael's the main guy.
You
And the game
play
is also
missions?
16 years old. Oh yeah, I didn't have good internet. I can't do online games. I get bullied by kids.
Oh, I'm not talking about online. I'm talking about just stealing cars.
Oh,
and
just like
killing
being a
people
terrorist?
for hours.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I
then
like
be
to
like,
do that.
I played video games,
It hits different living
trying
in
to
LA.
get 5 stars, and then
Yeah.
like, oh man, that was an adrenaline rush. All right, I'm done.
Since I've lived here, if I play, I just like to drive places without traffic.
Okay.
That's what if I'm like playing
You're
the LA
never
version, I'll be
stuck
like,
in
I'm gonna
traffic
get
on
to the
GTA.
beach in 8 minutes,
Yeah.
and that's like my fantasy.
Fly a plane.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
go to the valley.
I don't have a video game system.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I haven't had a video game system. It's been a long time.
I have a Xbox that looks like a mini fridge.
I had a PlayStation 2,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I went to college, it became a DVD player.
Yeah. I mean, they put the best DVD players in the gaming systems.
Really?
One of the PlayStations had a Blu-ray player, and it was cheaper than just buying a Blu-ray. Was it PS4 maybe or PS3? Whichever one had when Blu-rays came out.
Yeah,
They were like, it was just easier to buy it, and you'd have the Blu-ray player and a PlayStation.
because Xbox went with HD DVD.
That was dumb on their part.
Yeah,
They were like,
I
what if we
think-
took the worst ones?
I think Xbox 360 had HD DVD, and PlayStation had Blu-ray.
Yeah. I lived
Yeah.
with a kid who swore when I first moved to New York that HD DVD was going to win. And then he just had a bunch of HD DVDs that could play in nothing.
You know how Blu-ray won?
Porn?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. HD DVD. They were like, we ain't doing the porn.
Yeah.
And then society was like, well, get out of here.
We
You
already
got
like-
too many letters as it is.
The other one is a cooler name.
Yeah.
You had everything working against you.
We've never been in the colors before.
Ooh.
What color's gonna be after Blu-ray?
I know. Green phase? Or
Right.
We're in a Blu-ray room right now.
Teal ray?
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I learned what teal was. I can't believe this. We're striking on like my core childhood memories of remembering Mondos.
The core.
You play a song, you're like, you ever heard this? It's Buster Rhymes rapping about when I was 7. I got a teal Game Boy. one time, and I remember wanting the teal one and learning what the color teal was and being like obsessed with teal because of that. And I still have the Game Boy Color. It's probably from like 1996. It still works. I have Pokemon Blue. It's in it right now on my desk in Los Angeles.
You can get a lot.
Office.
You can get more than what you paid for.
I can't give that up.
But I'm just saying.
I got some elite glitched Pokemon on this cartridge. I can't get rid of this thing.
All right.
I'm for no one. I'm realizing saying all that. Who's going to be listening want to hear me talk about having Miss and Go?
Everybody. That's what they want to know, Kyle. My middle school, our mascot was the Dolphins.
Okay.
And so teal was one of our school colors.
Was it a rip-off logo?
Yeah. We ripped off. Yeah, turn that M into a B.
No one cares about high schools doing that.
This middle school. No one cares at all. Yeah. So what happened was our middle school is a brand new school.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked the kids in the elementary school that fed into the middle school, they had to vote on what our mascot would be. A lot of those kids were like, I'm not going to that school.
Yeah.
Dolphin. And so we ended up being the Dolphins. They never asked the kids. They were like, we couldn't ask you guys. You guys weren't here yet.
Yeah.
So I'm the first class in this middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we would have picked something ill.
Yeah.
We would have picked black and red or like we would have picked crazy colors.
Yeah.
Because we are kids in Atlanta, new school. Why would we not pick Falcons colors?
But instead, you got sort of pranked by kids. It's just like
we got pranked by kids that live near the school.
And I would have done the same thing if I was. This is the same thing that happens when really old people vote in elections. They're like, "What can I pick to really f it up for everyone who will be around for these consequences?"
Give me the guy from The Apprentice. I watched the whole Apprentice. It doesn't come on anymore. Peacock is not messing with it. They got everything
Home Alone
else.
too.
Yeah. Put him in there.
Yeah, I mean, my high school was the Wildcats, and we just had Kansas State's Wildcat logo.
Okay.
We were purple, and we're close to Kansas State. I grew up in the Missouri side of Kansas City, which is just on the border.
Yeah.
And so we're an hour and a half from Kansas State, and we're like, they'll never see this.
My school was Mays, and we took Michigan's M, but also we took UCLA's colors. So
I
we
like
didn't
those
have
colors.
Michigan's colors. We had UCLA colors, but then our mascot was the Raiders, and we never took the Raiders logo.
Your high school relocates all of the time. First goes to Vegas.
Yeah. They go to Vegas. They go to LA. They come back.
I like UCLA's colors. I think they look great. I like the script font helmet. I'm a big fan of that, how they just have the UCLA and like cursive on their helmet. Looks great to me. No one takes that. No one takes the Trojan I've never seen. My
elementary school was the Trojan.
Really?
Yeah,
with USC looking?
I think we just had numbers.
Just a condom.
Yeah, in the 90s.
No one cared.
I think we
just
our
had a
shorts
condom.
didn't even match our jerseys. Our jerseys was yellow and our shorts was blue. Like I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We were the Knights in elementary school. There's really no big thing that was the Knights at the time, so I don't think we even had a logo. I think they had like a suit of armor in the entrance.
Yeah,
but
we
I
had
don't
a
think we had
big
it on
Trojan in our entrance of our school.
It might not have been big. You might have just been little.
Right. We might have had a life-size Trojan.
It was just, it was a guy named Rick who just was standing there.
But it was in like a glass thing because
Yeah.
they were like, y'all gonna touch this.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it was in like a little fiberglass box.
For sure. Oh, I touched the suit of armor all the time. I think it was tiny. I remember thinking it was huge, but now that I'm thinking back, I'm like, well, the ceilings were low and it was tiny. I used to be littler, actually, if you can believe it.
Littler.
When I was younger, I was smaller. Littler? I used to be small shady.
Small shady?
I did dye my hair blonde. It was funny because he's from Kansas and identifies as from Detroit because that's where he grew up. I would say he's more from Detroit, but was like born in, Bonner Springs, Kansas or whatever it is. But everyone wanted to be like, Eminem's from here. And I'm like, he keeps saying he's not. I'm like, no, he loves here the most. I'm like, he literally has a lot of songs about it.
Yeah.
He's not, but you know how people, they want to like technically Walt Disney is technically from Missouri.
Really?
And they're like, yeah, I know. Walt Disney left. He wanted to build Disney in Kansas City, and they didn't like the idea, and so he left and came here. And, it would have been cool to have the biggest business in the history of humans be from where you're from. It probably would have helped the economy there. I don't know if all of Disney is good for an economy. I'm not Warren Buffett, but...
Wait, so he just moved out here. It wasn't because the movie industry was
there
out
wasn't.
here?
It wasn't then. Animation industry and stuff. I think people in Missouri in those time, like in the early 20th century, thought animation was witchcraft, and so they were probably like, "How's that dwarf moving?"
So that big Fantasia hat in Burbank would have been in Missouri?
It would have just been at Patrick Mahomes' house. I don't know what somehow the butterfly effect. The Chiefs wouldn't have Patrick Mahomes, so I'm fine with it. But yeah, it would have all been there, and they were just like, we don't, whatever they wanted, like a tax break or this or that at the time, and he's like, all right, I'll move out to Hollywood.
Wow. So the animation industry could have been in Missouri.
The hub could have been Kansas City, Missouri.
That would have been crazy.
Yeah. We might have had a basketball team still, too. They wouldn't have moved to Sacramento. That was the level Kansas City was at, was the Kings moved to Sacramento. From Kansas City. That's how down Kansas City was. They were like, you want to upgrade to Sacramento, California?
The Cincinnati Royals moved to Kansas City and became the Kansas City Kings. Yeah, so then...
Teams used to move a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And now they don't move as often. They still every once in a while do, but it used to... You see the Oakland A's used to be the Kansas City A's baseball team.
Really?
These teams were all over, yeah.
When did the elephant come in?
For the A's?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Probably Oakland. I don't remember any old Kansas City logos, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Then Kansas City decided to name all their sports teams after versions of royal things. The Monarchs and the Royals and the Chiefs. The Wizards used to be the soccer team before they just took up sporting Kansas City. That was their thing. I don't understand why they ever had that there, but they really went with it.
I mean, I don't know. I've only driven through Kansas City.
Oh, that's fine.
And so I couldn't tell you. It didn't feel regal, but you never know.
No,
it did have
isn't.
A good huge gender neutral bathroom.
Sure.
In the airport. And I was like, all right.
Airport's great.
Yeah.
And
then you get deeper into the airport and there's men's and women's rooms and it's like, all right, I don't know which side y'all are on. I guess there was somebody like, all right, for the people that ranted
it's
about
real both
that.
sides. They had to have good stuff for Instagram photos to get the funding.
Yeah.
It's it's a nice airport though. Kansas City's got a little glow up going on right now, and I think a lot of it can be attributed to sports getting them some national attention.
Yeah.
But it's been doing good stuff even for a little bit longer than that.
How many Super Bowls? 3?
3 for Mahomes and 4 total. Super Bowl 4.
2020, and then last year and this year.
Yeah, they'll be all right. I don't know. Kansas City was not cool when I grew up there. There was nothing to do. You didn't want to go downtown. You didn't want to go. There was not like any of these little hub art center things that are so popular everywhere now. But now there's a area called the West Bottoms in Kansas City, which is just old warehouse building district that most cities have, an old warehouse building district. And it used to just have 2 haunted houses there that take you hours to go through, called the Beast and the Edge of Hell. And those the haunted houses where they're like, they're allowed to touch you or whatever. It's like those, like, you got to sign a waiver. They make them. Those were all that were there, and it was such a bad neighborhood. My parents would drop me off at the haunted houses, and they'd be like, "Now go straight to the guy with the chainsaw." They'd be like, "Don't talk to anyone, and go straight into the edge of hell." Like, that's how bad of an area it was. Man. And now it's where the cool stuff is, where it's like we have the food truck art town painting. You know what I mean? Like that stuff happens. They got a lot going on there now. I wonder if I would have ever moved if it was going on there when I grew up there. Probably, but.
Well, like what you mean move to that area?
I think I could have seen comedy as a viable thing to start there. I never did it there. I lived in Chicago right after college, and then I moved to New York after a year of Chicago. Okay. And then out here. But I don't know if you grew up in Denver, you probably start comedy there.
Right.
Because it's
I
like a vibe.
started
Like
in
Atlanta. Atlanta
Yeah.
and Denver, I think, just have as good a comedy scenes as anywhere in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And if you saw that as a viable option, they have easily as good of like a stand-up scene as Chicago.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I'll just stay here. But Kansas City, I think microphones were illegal until like 2017. I think you had to get written approval to say what you wanted to say. There was just nothing going on. There's like good. If I was a jazz musician, I probably would have stayed in Kansas City and tried to come up there. I don't know what like that is like, but
Yeah.
comedy still doesn't quite have a complete foothold there. There's some good shows and some good independent venues, but there's zero.
There's
when I
no
was out of college.
clubs?
Now there is. There's a comedy club in Kansas City that's good. There's an improv that's just like a lot of them are on the fringe of Kansas City. But none of that stuff was a viable option when I was there. There was just a club ran by these crazy brothers who pretended they like invented comedy. It was wild.
The Marx Brothers?
It was these guys, the Glazers, who ran a club called Stanford and Sons, and they'd be like, "We discovered Eddie Griffin," and they would just tell you that, and they'd be like, "We discovered Robin Williams."
Well,
And you're
Eddie
like,
Griffin's from
He
Kansas
is,
City.
but I don't think he I think worked there maybe as a waiter for like 2 months, but they're like, we're the only ones who knew he was funny. And they took credit for a lot of comedians like that. And then they try and I only was supposed to feature there once before it closed, and they tried to charge me, and they tried to make me buy their book. And these were just like old hat 80s coked out, like you can go down crazy rabbit holes of talking to people who have experiences with them.
Have you ever seen Eddie Griffin's HBO Half Hour?
At some point, back then, probably when these guys were telling me they discovered him.
He had on yellow leather shorts.
No, I don't remember that, but that is
And
insane.
then when they show him, like, they're like, Eddie Griffith. And then he, like, hits a spin.
Yeah.
Like,
Are they long?
Like,
or are they knee?
they're, like, long for 92.
Okay.
Yeah. But they're, like, regular shorts now.
Yeah. Wow.
And
I mean,
they're-
that's a wild.
but
Leather
also
shorts
they're
is
yellow.
also crazy. Yeah.
And they're leather. They're fun
That's
to say.
absolutely. I wonder if that will ever. Well, now there's no more comedy. But I wonder if anyone's. The stand-up's not around anymore, but when it used to be on, I just wonder what people's specials, if they're going to look back and be like, can you believe what they were wearing in their Comedy Central TikTok? Which would be like 2 words that might not be real in 2 years.
Oh, man.
You never know with fashion, but anytime anyone's taking a bold stance, it's always aged in an odd way.
I used to like Last Comic because everybody's trying to differentiate themselves with like what they have on, but also it's like 100 comics. You gotta go crazy to be memorable, you know?
Yeah, it is. You know, it's how comedy's supposed to be, which is 2 or 3 second snippets where you act out a character for attention. I did like Last Comic Standing, though. That was before I ever knew stand-up was a job.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just remember seeing people like Greg Warren, or I remember Ralphie May, that season 1 where he, I think, got 2nd place, being like, oh, it's crazy there's like funny people I haven't heard of.
Right. Yeah, I never thought stand-up was something you could just do.
No.
Like, I always looked at it as like, these people trying to jump into movies.
Yeah.
It's the only way they trying to jump into movies over here.
Now it's a lot of people who are falling out of movies. Or who do stand up.
Right.
Yeah, I saw Dave Attell and Louis Black on tour, and they had the Insomniac tour. I was probably in 8th grade or freshman year of high school, and Mitch Hedberg opened, and I remember going to see them and being like, who's that guy? I've never heard of him. You know, I knew Dave Attell from Insomniac, and I knew Louis Black from The Daily Show, but I didn't know there were comedians I didn't know. I know that sounds crazy now.
Right.
But I was just like, how are there? I thought there were like 30.
Yeah. And I thought, like, if you're not getting on TV, you just leave.
I didn't even know there were other options.
Right,
I
right.
had no clue there would be a stand. Like, if you told me what the Comedy Cellar was, that'd blow my mind. That there was like a place you could go see like 10 people do stand-up, and you've maybe heard of a few of them, and they're all kind of funny. I had no idea. If you guys don't know the Comedy Cellar, it's a crowd work generator in Greenwich Village. No, it's the best club. You know what I mean? It's like a underground, and it's the best stand-up club, and it's always been like that. this cool place. I couldn't fathom that there was a third comedian in the world.
Right.
And it was Mitch Hedberg, and I thought I had discovered him.
Man, like, I remember me and my dad walking in New York. It's 2006, and a guy barks to us, and he's like, "You guys want to see Patrice O'Neal tonight?" And then I was like, "Yeah." And my dad was like, "You believe this guy? He don't really got tickets."
Yeah.
And then we didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was wondering, like,
Was he there?
was he really barking for
Did
like
you
a real
ever
show?
hear
or
those
was it-
barkers when you lived there? And they were like, "You want to see Tina Fey tonight?" And you're like, "It's a stand-up New York barker." And you're like,
Right.
"The fucking." There's absolutely no world where Tina. I'm on that show. Like that's the
Right.
level of show that they're getting barked for.
But at that time, to say Patrice,
Yeah.
you know, and for me to be like to my dad, he's on Web Junk 20. Like,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta see him.
You're
Like,
talking about Tosh Point, 0 point
Yeah.
just before that.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like if you were gonna lie, you were gonna lie big. You were gonna go like Dane Cook, Cat Williams.
Yeah.
You know,
Like Chris Rock.
yeah. Like that's before like Louis Pop. Like,
And you
I
can
think
see those guys there sometimes. The seller
Right,
never has to bark.
right.
Generally, the venues where they're trying to get you, if they're trying to trick you into tickets, it's you know.
But I
It's not the
I
same.
doubt in 06 this guy was looking at me and my dad was like, "These are Patrice guys," you know.
Maybe he thought you liked that show. Was it VH1?
It was VH1.
I like
I'm
that
obsessed
show.
with VH1.
That show, waiting for that show to come on, was faster than my internet. That's how bad we had like AOL dial-up until like aughts.
It was
well
at a
into 'em.
weird time too. I feel like they put it on like it was on Fridays or
Yeah.
something, and it's like, don't have this show compete with the club.
That shows how I found out about like I remember Bub Rub and Lil Sis being a video on that show with the Whistler tips. They were Raiders
Okay.
in a Raiders hat. I remember I think Star Wars guy even I found through that. Like it was that old. I remember learning about who was the backyard fighting guy who then went to UFC and died kind of
Kimbo
young.
Slice?
Kimbo Slice. I remember
Yeah,
learning about him
yeah,
from
yeah.
there. A lot of the
we used to watch Kimbo Slice
E-Bombs
before
World.
YouTube when
Yeah.
you just like a Daily Motion video.
just
or
watch him
whatever.
knock a guy's eye out of his head
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
go have dinner.
Yeah.
You're like, this feels safe. It's hard to describe navigating early internet
Mhm.
now where everyone is internet all the time. And you're like, yeah, we would sit and wait for a video to load and then it would be a fake car jump scare.
I would listen to stuff on people's MySpace.
Mm-hmm.
I would listen to stand-ups on MySpace.
Mm-hmm.
I'd listen to just random stuff.
I really
You just gave
seeing
me
that
5
show
tracks.
like flooded my consuming of stand up, but still never made me think it could be a job because I didn't live somewhere where you were just kind of like there was really anything like I don't think I thought there was a level of depth to really any entertainment job,
Yeah.
music or comedy or acting or anything. I'd never been to New York before I moved there. So I never had seen anything even like that until I was, 22.
Oh,
But
man.
I was just like, how there's people. It feels hard because it's so obvious. Like, of course, people try and do something, but I just couldn't believe how people became a stand-up comedian.
Well, I auditioned for Last Comic when I was like 6 months. I flew to New York
Mhm.
and slept outside the Gotham Comedy Club.
Okay, yeah,
And I got on TV, but
Oh,
I
yeah?
didn't do a set or anything. And it
Mhm.
was like an open call, and it was like so many comedians. It was crazy. And then, but I don't know. I think I always thought of it as a thing. I think my parents and people in my life would watch Comic View,
Mhm.
and so I always knew that like a comedian was a thing. I ran into Ricky Smiley when I was a kid, and I recognized him, and my mom was like, "You should not know who he is." And then Ricky Smiley was like, "No, I'm clean. He could watch me and then go to bed." He was the host of Comic View at the time, so he would go up first. And so that's what would happen. I would watch Ricky Smiley, and then I
loved
would go to
Comic
bed.
View. I loved Comic View. I loved Kings of Comedy. I loved the stuff that I could get to. I loved Blue Collar Comedy Tour.
I would
And
watch that.
I remember, but I didn't.
Premium Blend.
It never Premium Blend. I loved, but I never ever was. I was just like, there's no audiences smaller than this. I don't know if that makes sense. I was like, what? I was just like, how everyone? This is what
Right.
you get booked, and this is like your first thing.
Right.
I never really knew that you could find those things. I loved Premium Blend.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of the jokes that people had on Premium Blend still.
Really?
That were just like, I remember like Gaffigan on his Premium Blend and Half Hour, and Jeremy Hotz on his was very
Okay.
funny, and seeing people do like Nick Swardson and all their Comedy Central half hours and Premium Blend and weird stuff. It just never clicked to me for a long time how to get to that. I mean, I still don't know, honestly, how anyone would possibly do it, but it was crazy. And it took so long for me to think, well, those guys just made a choice to go after that at some point.
But yeah, no, I do get what you're saying about the depth, because I never did think, like I watched the Comedy Central's 100 Greatest Comedians list, and after that I was like, I know every comedian.
Yeah. Well, back then there were only like 104, so it felt
Right.
bad to be left off the list.
Right. It's like, wait, I've been on this channel too many times
so-
to not be on this list.
You'll hear like older comedians talk more about like writing and jobs, where like I'll listen to Conan O'Brien sometimes talk, and he'll be like, and then this guy showed up to The Simpsons twice, so we gave him a job.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck? He's like, this guy wrote us 6 letters, so that's how David Letterman got The Late Show. He wrote 6 letters or
I
something.
saw-
Like, what was happening? Because now it's like they'll pay you $4 if you give them 1 million friends.
Right. Like I remember watching this thing, and they were like, yeah, the Dick Van Dyke Show, somebody wrote in a letter, they wanted to know how to be a writer on TV, and so we hired him. And
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what?
Absolutely wild.
How funny was this letter?
I know.
Or like
Was this like a formal format? Was this MLA he was working with to get this gig?
or what's his name, Cavett, Dick Cavett,
Yeah.
said he went to the restroom at the Tonight Show and slid Jack Parr some jokes and then got him right into
I feel like this is why boomers are like, just go put your resume in.
just go, like,
and you're
what
just
are
like,
you
well, this
doing?
doesn't work anymore. Did
Just
you know?
call Tyler Perry.
They'll-
Have you tried it?
Have you tried being on the SNL?
Does Judd Apatow know that you came of age?
I saw this documentary called Funny People, and this guy just started working for Adam Sandler in it, and then he was all of a sudden in 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Dude, just go up to Judd, tell him you're sick in the head. He's gonna give you a movie.
And then I read that book, Sick in the Head, which I really
Yeah.
liked. And it's even you hear Judd. That's how he's like, I just bothered Jerry Seinfeld until he let me interview him, and then that got me jobs. And you're like, well, you can't just bother people anymore.
Yeah. No, when I first started doing comedy, like somebody would come to the comedy club with a Zoom and record a podcast with a comedian, and no telling where that stuff went. Now you could never just be like, hey, can I interview you for 35 minutes? And be like, get out of here trying to get content off of me. This
Right.
is my private time.
I would say if you're in a scene that is Kansas City level or like working on it, if you're in a budding scene, start some little podcast and try and reach out to the comedians in town because they got nothing going on. What are you going to stop them from walking around a high V? Go talk to them and see if they can. But yeah, it is so it's to the point where it's like it was frustrating for a while, and the world is so different now. I just laugh at the stories where he's like, well, I went to Mel Brooks' house and I scared him getting out of his car, and he wrote me a check for $40,000 because I was so scary. And you'll be like, that's John Mulaney.
He was so scared. He was like, I got to make a Frankenstein something.
This is such that
been
old
this-
Frankenstein's so boring.
Yeah, I need a young Frankenstein.
Yeah, the old comedy stories are so funny. It is the equivalent of just parents being like, why don't you take your resume to the hardware store? And you're like, hardware stores have been around for 40 years. What's a resume? I got to give this guy my resume and also manually type it into the same box, and they're not going to read either of them. A robot's going to tell them I suck.
I did have a crazy idea when I moved to New York. I said I was going to write at the Starbucks across from the Ed Sullivan Theater, and then eventually someone from Colbert, well, I guess it was Letterman at the time, was going to be like, hey, what you working on?
Oh, we've all had those fantasies. We've all had those. I went to see Mitch Hedberg headline a show. I did one open mic, in Kansas City, and the host told me to kill myself, and I didn't do comedy for a couple years after that. Although, jokes on him, I've only gotten pretty close. And I went to the Mitch Hedberg thing and was just like, it'd be crazy if they need an opener. It's like a guy who like brings his glove to a baseball game just in case.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, if they ask if anyone can tell jokes, I'll raise my hand. Why would that ever come up?
Yeah.
But I was like, man, I'd do pretty good if they asked me to go up here and tell either of my jokes. I wouldn't have.
There was a talent show that they used to do at the comedy club on Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you're really a comedian, you're not in a talent show with singers and other stuff. You just have a spot. And so I went up to the comedy club, and the comedian was like, yeah, I guess you could do the talent show if you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did the talent show, and I like blanked out. I couldn't think of any of my jokes. And then I just walked off. And it was so bad. And then, like,
they didn't tell you how much talent you had to show.
I would have been more of a comedian if I just been like, oh yeah, I don't got a spot tonight. Then going up, blanking out, and then not leaving.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, this was my like saving grace in New York, because I had a hard time grinding and going to like 5 mics a night where you pay $10 to get up at a club. I would find these small music open mics and go do stand-up at those. And an open mic where you're one of the only comedians, they're appreciative of you.
It's fine.
And these musicians tend to have their friends come out because they don't do it every night because they're not psychos.
Yeah.
And then I would do this one open mic in, where was it? Not Park Slope. Maybe like Sunset Park or something like that in Brooklyn. And it took me an hour to get there from where I lived in Brooklyn, because it's the same city. So why should you be able to get somewhere quickly? And I would go and do this open mic every week, and the host really liked me, and he put me up every week without me having to ask, because I ended up being the comedian who kind of broke up. It'd be like 6 musicians, their 20 friends, and me, and I'm like, this is incredible. And then one day I saw a second comedian there, and I was like, oh God.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I'm not
And then we
the
both went up,
comedian.
and then the next week it was like 5 comedians and 2 musicians.
Oh,
and
man.
then the next week the host was like, hey, we don't let comedians come anymore. Because he's like he got like 60 emails asking,
Yeah.
can I go?
Hey,
can I come up? Can I go up early? I gotta go record another voice memo I'm not going to listen to somewhere else. And so then he's just like, I can't let any comedians come anymore. And I was like, comedians will find any corner of a business, and they're 6 weeks away from no one wanting to sit there.
Right. That's what would kill me in New York. A venue, like there would be a new venue, there'd be a show, and it'd be like, this is great. People like coming here. This show is amazing. And then they'd get that second show.
You have to be either at a comedy venue, or you have to be at a place.
Right.
Not a thing at the place.
Right. And then they'd get a third show and a fourth show.
Yep.
And then it would be like, oh, man, you got a spot there.
Which,
you
could
try
the early or the
anything.
late Wednesday show. And you're like, well, we can't have 3 shows at this venue on a Wednesday. But it was I ran a show at Spike Hill, which was a venue in Williamsburg. That was a music venue. And we were the comedy show. And it was great because people would be like, we have a comedy show. We have instead of like, we're always having stuff going on.
Yeah.
You get too many options, no one's going to show up. But I agree. Being the thing at a place, great. They love it. Everyone else seems to value comedy for some reason. So they're excited about you being there. And then you eventually, bleed them dry and they go out of business. But
Right.
it is, there'd be the little
man.
places you'd be like, we got a thing going on, like Over the 8, if you remember that
Over
place
the
in
8,
Williamsburg.
Comedy destroyed over
Destroyed a venue in Williamsburg next to a park. Couldn't stay open. Where you're just like, are we vampires? Are we leeches? That's the better word.
Perfect setup.
Venue in the back.
Venue in the back.
Cheap bar. Right off of trains. Multiple trains.
Could not
Walking
get
distance.
a soul in there.
Couldn't get a
And
person
there
to
was
go.
35 shows a month.
Yeah. They'd be like, I got 8 spots at Over the 8 this afternoon. I'm trying to go up early and late at the mic there because I have a show there afterwards.
Yeah. They would do shows there and mics there.
Mhm.
Oh man, but it was so convenient to get to.
It was so convenient.
It was so
right by
like,
the
man,
park.
this could work.
Yeah.
We just need like 5 people.
It wasn't even that it put like the shows out of business. They literally couldn't keep the business open. And this is
Right.
like a venue in Williamsburg, Brooklyn in the early teens.
Yeah.
Busy. There's 100
Mhm.
people in here all buying one Diet Pepsi and then sitting in the back room for 7 hours.
Right.
And then people are like, why don't they value art? And like they do, they're just not comedy.
Yeah.
We got to separate those words.
Kyle, I do want you to tell the people about Hard to Say.
Oh, sure.
Your very personal show that
Yeah.
you're doing.
I have a comedy, like a stand-up show called Hard to Say that is about, I have a nerve disease in my brain, in my head called Trigeminal Neuralgia, and I sort of started writing jokes about it, and it developed into an hour-long comedy show about it. And I have one at Lyric Hyperion in Los Angeles on the 21st of July, and then I'm going to be at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival for the whole month if anyone happens to head over to Scotland, where I've never been. Excited about the food.
Where my Scots at? Pull up on Kyle.
I thought you were going to put Dropkick Murphys on. That might be Irish. It's probably Irish. I'm sure they love being mistaken for each other. Those don't seem like angry whites. You never had a Scottish car bomb? It's an Irish car bomb inside of a bread bowl?
No.
What are you playing?
The Scots.
Oh.
Travis Scott
Okay.
and Scott Muscady. Kid Cudi.
Yeah, so the show's like I never really had personal comedy, and then I started to write jokes about this because I'm in pain all the time, and it's funny, and I try and be funny first. It's been a difficult thing. You know what it is when you like name something, you don't want to sound like you're doing a one-man show because that makes no one want to watch it. You know what I mean? Like you walk out on sit on a black box and blame your dad or something.
Yeah.
It's funny, and I try and be funny about the unfunny topic of having a brain disease.
Is it like, how do you drive?
Eyes shut, full of heart. No, I don't know. It doesn't. If you keep your lights off, the cops can't see you swerving. I used to have this line when I hosted a comedy club where I was like, if you're going to drink and drive, or don't drink and drive, but if you do, keep your lights off so you don't get pulled over. And eventually the owner of the club was like, please stop saying that. But I don't know. It's not. I know how to kind of control it. If you live with a chronic pain, you understand the levels it's coming in at different times.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sort of able to maintain how I am with it. When it gets really bad, you know, if it's gotten like bad enough, if I'm driving for a long time, I have to pull over and lay down in my back seat or something. But it doesn't really affect. Nothing could happen to me to make me worse at driving than a lot of other people already are.
That's true.
But it's a show about that. It's called Hard to Say. I don't know. It's kind of taken over instead of running these other like conceptual shows. I'm just putting my efforts into this and seeing where it goes because I've had a lot of fun doing it. It's fun meeting people.
Yeah.
People come out who are going through stuff, and it's fun to make them laugh.
I wrecked one.
Mm-hmm. You did. That was very fun. The show is so different than that now. It's wild.
Yeah.
Probably 70% different.
Oh, cool.
It just keeps changing and changing, and I've made it. I used to do a lot of things where you try and like give yourself a modifier in case it doesn't go well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just removed all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Anything
cool,
that's
cool.
not about having the disease has been kind of removed from the show. But I would say it's probably, if it was an hour then, probably 15 to 18 of the minutes of that remain, and the rest is new.
They asked what is on your bucket list,
Mm-hmm.
and then is that still in the show?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, I won't spoil it then.
I talk to people about what's on their bucket lists.
Yeah.
And
so I was a part of the show,
mhm.
but then also I decided to write in the bucket, thinking they're never gonna choose me, and I put in the bucket that I always wanted to pull a tablecloth off of the table
Yeah.
with everything
It's
on
a great
it.
thing.
And then they had a table and a tablecloth there.
We tried to set it up
And then
to
they
get
were
it
like,
done.
whose ticket is this?
Yeah.
Whose
And then it
ticket? I
looked
was like-
rigged because everyone's like, oh, it's the comedian from earlier's bucket thing. And
I thought somebody was going to be like, oh, you know what? This is my chance. And they were going to do it.
yeah,
But
one did
no,
it.
it was mine. And then I had to go do it.
It's hard. Also, it's like a bottle of water, the impossible. We
Right.
had in Kansas City, I did the show, and one person's bucket list was to do stand up. And I was like, okay, if this
That's
is yours,
perfect.
you can come up here and tell a joke. And it was this old man, and he came up on stage, and Santa Claus looking fella, and he came and he did a callback to the opener's joke, and it crushed. Because it's such a funny thing to do.
Yeah.
Because she had a joke about her vibrator being broken. And he did a callback to that, and it crushed. And then he jumped off the stage and tore his ACL.
Oh no!
And then
That's nuts.
oh, dude, it was so crazy. You're like, I just don't think this. I wouldn't even get workman's comp for that. It was like he just and then limps back to his booth, and then there's a half of the show remaining.
Oh, jeez.
But the show is much different than that now. I do still like to talk to people. I try not to hurt anyone.
Yeah.
But it's the 21st if you're in LA at the Lyric Hyperion, and tickets should be available soon. I'm just lazy about emails.
It's all good. By the time this comes out, then
Okay.
they might be able to purchase a ticket.
People know how to find stuff. You know what I mean? When
Yeah.
you're like promoting stuff, you're like, if you find me, I'll be posting about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you like show flyers or people who participate in those circle 3 of these that apply to you Instagram story trends, I'm your guy.
Okay. Kyle Ayers, this has been the Inconsistent Podcast with Rob.
Oh, yeah, that guy tearing his ACL.
I forgot about that. Oh man.
That was the same one 2 people